I think we're good.
As it's not on yet. Hold on. Oh, here we go. All right, we are live. Go ahead. Not on yet. Hold on.
All right.
Oh, here we go.
I, I am Brooke Legler, and I am honored to be here and
All right, we are live.
to be helping Corrine Hendrickson with her campaign, her run for Senate. So I have known Corrine for a very long time. We used to substitute teach together, and then we both were early child care providers during the same time. And we both struggled with providing the resources that some of the children in our care required due to either disabilities or just additional needs that they had at a young age. And so that's where Corrine and I really began. Reaching out to different departments within Wisconsin, different organizations, and then it led us to our Senator Urbanbach at the time, and he was gracious enough to help us along the way, help create policies, write policies, trying to support children, and it was from there that that was 13 years ago that started. So Corrine has been working with in that with the government and different programs, either state or other organizations, and trying to facilitate basically better policies for communities within Wisconsin. The childcare has always been a central issue, but as Goff will talk about later, it has ripple effects across Wisconsin with our economy, our workforce. Um, so the idea that green is just childcare is actually false. She's a lot of things with learning everything, and that's I think that's also one of the good things about Corrine is that she takes the time to learn. If it's about farming, she's meeting with the farmers union. If it's about our land conservation, she's meeting with the conservation groups. So that's one thing that I think that is missing in a lot of our politics today is that they are not utilizing the constituents in their areas that are experiencing some of the policies that they are the experts in some of these fields, and we should be listening to them, their experiences, and what could work for them to be better. So, Corrine, as it's mentioned before, is a ball of energy. I am always been jealous of her energy that she brings to the table. She is tireless, but it's what we need in a candidate. We need somebody that has the fire in their belly right now, and she's got it. She has never stood down, especially when it comes to right being the right thing. And a lot of times that is what it comes down to is making sure that things are done correctly, logically, ethically, and that things are done that support the values that we share in this area. Um, we do all care for our neighbors. We do not want children to be hungry in our area or anywhere for that matter, but these are things that we share, and these are things that we should be working on, and that Corrine is has plans for already to tackle a lot of these issues. So I'm excited to be a part of this campaign. As we go through. And I cannot emphasize enough how critical the seat is going to be. This is a flippable seat. Um, we have an opportunity to do this. We just need the right candidate to do it. And Corrine is a candidate that we can get behind too, that has that energy that isn't somebody who's been a part of the establishment that is already, kind of the yes person goes with the flow, who, there's not that spark, I guess. I think some of you can relate to when you see it, you know it, like a candidate that has that spark. And that's what we need so that we can flip this seat, because this seat might be one of the last seats to flip the Senate. That's how close we can be
Mhm.
in November with it. Um, so this is going to be a critical race. And it's also important that I emphasize that this is a grassroots campaign. This is not a campaign where any of us that have been working knocking on doors are paid for. This is all volunteer work that we do, and we do it because we believe in Corrine. Um, we believe that she has the ability to fix these things that we want fixed in our communities. Um, she came into this with zero money as opposed to Mark Line, who came into this campaign with
Mhm.
$1 million already. Um, and that money that he's coming in with is not from the folks at the Driftless area. Um, that is outside resource money. That is outside people with interests in making sure Mark Line continues to do what he has been doing for the last 11 years that he has been the senator. It's interesting. I got my little door knocker today while I was going knocking doors myself. Um, Even though I have signs all over the place for Corrine at my house. Um, but it's frustrating to me and it's sad. Like um, he lists lower taxes for families and retirees. Well, you've had 11 years to do these, more affordable housing. It's not happening under you. And he's the co-chair of the Joint Finance Committee. He holds the purse strings for Wisconsin. So that's another critical to keep in your mind of why this seat needs to flip, because he has a lot of power of the budget. Um, Investing in local communities. I mean, that is a joke because he has absolutely gutted a lot of our local communities. Um, Childcare alone, we have lost childcare providers significantly under his watch. Our firefighters, our EMS, all of that is struggling with the funding right now. We know the medical field, the rural areas in this, District 17 is basically a lot of rural area. Trying to have medical options in this area. And again, he's been there for 11 years. So I feel like he's had enough time, didn't work. So I think we should help him maybe find a different job. Um, and that's what I'm hoping to do, but we need help. Again, we need people boots on the ground. We need people talking about it, having these conversations because we are up against money is what we're up against right now. And it shouldn't be money. I mean, one of Korean's other priorities is campaign refinance because we do have a flawed system. We do need to fix that, but until she gets in here, we have to work with this flawed system where we are up against um, Jenna Jacobson, who was running, was just given close to 300,000 from the Democratic Party in Madison so that she can bombard us with those TV ads instead of like going out there, instead of her attending the forums. Um, this is what she's counting on is these ads from outside people to get this for her. And unfortunately, while I find Jenna to be a fine, kind person, I don't see the fire. Personally, I even questioned if this is something she wanted this position, or if she was told to do this position just because of her lack of attending forums, and then when she has been there, lack of that energy, that policy, or any substance to it. Um, I'm frustrated that she signed a bunch of bills after they even became law. Like that doesn't make sense to me unless you're padding your talking points during this campaign. Why would you sign on bills that have already been through committee, been through that, and some were even signed by Evers, our law, and then you sign on to them. That doesn't make sense. And that's the kind of stuff that we don't need as a politician. I don't want the games. I don't want the trickery. And I know that Corrine doesn't have that. She has the integrity, that piece that I know she will stay true to that too, because I know it's also a concern for a lot of people as they get into the position and then all of a sudden what happened to them? Like their promises are gone. So I know Corrine will do it. Partially because I'm gonna also be there to to hold her accountable, which a lot of our candidates need to be held accountable. So moving on, just as a housekeeping thing, all the guests will be muted. Um, and there will be the QR code on the screen, which would be the fastest way if you do want to chip in. And that can be in multiple ways. It could be knocking doors, volunteering. If you can't give the time, then obviously, of course, money helps. But the volunteering, just word of mouth, that is what we need
Mhm.
right now. Too. We just need to keep these conversations going. We need people to understand what Corrine is about. So that's a big thing. So if people could help volunteer, great. I think with that said, we will go on to our first speaker here tonight. Um, and we'll go with that, and that would be Steve, who is the Greene County Supervisor.
Thank you, Brooke. My name is Steve Donovan. I'm the Greene County Supervisor for District 27 in New Glarus Village. And I'm self-employed as a video producer, editor, working from my office right in the village of New Glarus. I've had the opportunity to see Green's commitment to our community up close, and I can tell you that she leads with both compassion and determination. Whether she's advocating for children, supporting working families, or serving our local schools, she doesn't just talk about problems. I can tell you firsthand that she rolls up her sleeves and gets to work finding solutions. And personally, I've seen it firsthand. I walked office to office in our state's capital, and she's making changes happen while we're walking and talking in at all the offices to all these politicians in the Assembly and the Senate. And most importantly, for you, the viewer, is that she's a thoughtful, practical voice for Southwest Wisconsin in the state Senate. And I'm proud that I've endorsed her, and I'll continue to support her, whatever she does, because she is the biggest fighter I know, wonderful person, and she's a partner to local government because she's been there. She's advocated for us. She knows the players in our local governments and understands how to get things done. This seat can be flipped, just like Brooke said, and it can be done with someone who is a stark contrast for somebody who does nothing for our district in District 17. Corrine understands rural Wisconsin because she lives it every day. She's inspired me to become more involved in our community, and I know she'll inspire you as well. And I hope you'll vote for her this August in a couple days, actually. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. And we're gonna have Corrine actually now say a few words and then we'll keep going on to the other speaker. I should mention to please put questions, and then we will address those a little bit later. Corrine will answer any questions that you want to put in the chat. That's actually one of her favorite things to do is to have questions come at her. She likes to debate too.
Yes, so thank you all for being here tonight. This means the world to have so much great support. And Steve, I totally forgot we did go wander and knock doors that day at the Capitol when we came up for the Kids Forward Dad Day. at the Capitol. So yeah, so I'm Corrine Hendrickson. I have lived here in New Glarus around 23 years, but I substitute taught longer than that in the school district. I had a family childcare for 18 years and was on my school board. And in those years, I had 17 kids with special needs. So I've also had to walk hand in hand with parents through the entire process of birth to three in the school districts. And that's how my advocacy journey started. Every time somebody's told me no, I've said, that's not true, or we can't do this. I say, yes, we can. I think all my years with working with young children and their parents has helped make me very flexible and think in multiple different ways. I also worked really hard to make sure I could meet the needs of the children. So I pursued my inclusion credential through UW-Platteville so I could learn the laws and how to communicate better with families. I then also have my infant early childhood family mental health capstone from UW-Madison. NAMI was gracious enough to do scholarships along with some funding that we were able to get through Greene County Development Corporation. And I then also pursued my master's in early childhood education policy so that I could really learn how to dig deep, understand the history and the systemic issues that we have, and make sure to work to not embed those inequalities further into our already unequal, unfair system, and start to work to peel those things apart so that we can actually invest in our communities and children. I pursued all of those things at great personal cost and time to myself and was not able to get a raise out of it because I couldn't charge parents more. So I did this because it's what was best for those kids and what was best for my business and our community. And so that's what I've always done. I've always led with public service. Leadership style. Brooke and I started and co-founded Wisconsin Early Childhood Action Needed in 2020, and we helped engage, empower, and really learned what representatives were supposed to do. We had representatives do Zoom meetings and teach people the budget process, the legislative process. They would ask us for information and advice. So anybody who thinks I don't have legislative experience, I have lots and lots. Brooke and I actually taught a joint finance committee member how to read the budget and where the money comes from. They didn't understand the line that said FED meant it was federal dollars. They were insisting it was all state dollars. So yeah, that's also when I started really thinking, and I went toe to toe with Ron Johnson in his office, and I started thinking I could do this. I think I'm smarter than these people, and definitely more curious. So that is why I really last year, when the budget added $0 per pupil to our schools and ended the funding for childcare, which right now parents are feeling the crunch because rates are going to go up. Childcares are closing. Other states are definitely investing. Ours is not. And, as a small business owner, I understand the difficulties of small businesses and the fact that if I didn't have a spouse with insurance, I couldn't have stayed in the business. And that's so true for so many people in small businesses. And we need somebody who will go up to the Capitol and fight for those people and all of us, because I have been in the thick of it. I understand it, and I have connections to those people. So in the chat, I put a bunch of different resources for people at the YouTube channel, so you can definitely click on those. I highly encourage any watchers to ask questions because, as Brooke said, I enjoy answering them, and I really actually answer the question. I don't give you the politician speak. So we'll let people go on from here.
Thank you, Corrine, for that. Next up on our list is Moreau. Who are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, all right, you're up.
Well, I just met Corrine not too long ago, but I've always been concerned about the way the world is going and our nation. And she hit all the notes. She hit everything. Everything was lined up, especially the child care. I'm a grandfather. We don't need child care, but it is central to making the country and the community work. And that's going to, like Goff said, there are ripple effects. Um, she's going to bite into healthcare, which is a big deal, and possibly education, because it's not affordable. I was talking to my daughter, and I said, you should get your master's because I can't afford it. She just couldn't afford it. But well, there you have it. And she's energetic. And we talked about volunteering. I'm a musician and I get to talk to a lot of people. And my o opening conversation is Corrine to vote, to go. And a lot of people were unaware of who to vote for or that they even needed to vote in at the 11th. Like, go vote. And I'm going to keep calling them. I've gotten a lot of their numbers, not everybody. I'm not the guy that goes around doors. That for some reason that frightens me. I think somebody's going to shoot me or something. I look shootable. And anyway, that's all I've got to say. She's amazing. And I did notice the energy right away. She reminded me of myself. I was a bit, you know, almost like an alcoholic. You use that energy and you focus it and you go for it and you don't stop. And that's her. And that's exactly what we need. Thank you very much, Corey.
Thank you. Thank
Be
you.
yourself. Don't ever change.
I agree.
Okay.
Thank you for that. It couldn't be more true about Corrine. Next we are going to hear from Therese.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tree Sailors, and I live in Ferryville, Wisconsin, which is on the Mississippi River. I met Corrine. I haven't known Corrine for very long, but what really, really has impressed me about Corrine is her energy, her curiosity, and her willingness to learn. The way we met was through a statewide organization focused on supporting the social and emotional needs of infants and young children. Corrine just mentioned that she went through the Capstone program, the Infant, Early Childhood, and Family Mental Health Program at the UW. I started the statewide organization called Wisconsin Alliance for Infant Mental Health. And my organization partnered with that Capstone program to bring higher education through the UW on social emotional development, which is the foundation of all development. So I want somebody in the 17th district who reflects my values, and I think Corrine is the person. I'm thrilled that someone's running who understands the critical importance of the early years. Did you all know there's over 1 million new neural connections made every second in the first 3 years of life? Every second. And it's all based upon relationships and their experiences. Corrine gets it. Babies can't wait, and Corrine understands this. I checked out Corrine. Like I said, I haven't known her for very long, but she does understand the struggles of rural communities, whether it's funding volunteer fire departments, finding childcare, or finding healthcare. Corrine gets it. I'm passionate about young children. I'm passionate about education, natural resources, and family forums. Another thing that has impressed me about Corrine is she has crisscrossed this 17th district and heard from people of all walks of life. And I believe that Corrine will be able to do something with her passion, her motivation, and her energy. She is hardworking and will get the job done. I think Corrine is the person for all of us, and I encourage everyone to vote on August 11th. Thank you.
Thank you, Therese. Just to kind of piggyback on that, Corrine and I, for years, we were doing an educational presentation that we would give to community members about the importance of the early years, and we talked about brain development. We both were part of the Capstone program, so we were our goal was to get the community members to understand how critical this time period is for children, but then also what those implications are, how it impacts everybody. It's not just if you have a child, it impacts everybody when we don't take care of our children at that early age that we do later on in life. So Corrine spent we didn't get paid for that. So just to speak to her values towards the community, it was just so that people could understand and treat children and not be so to treat children well and not be so dismissive. A lot of people unfortunately think because kids can't remember when they're a baby that it doesn't matter, and that is absolutely not true. And so it was important for us to try to get that out there. So we were invited to Lions clubs to meet, to schools. We gave the presentation for different organizations when they had their seminars and things like that, to libraries. We went wherever we were asked, basically. We even did one way up by Superior. Um, so we were, again, to your point, yes, it is so important for those early years. But, and with that said, it's so important that we have policies in place to support those early years for children because we are definitely lacking in that. So thank you for talking to that point. Next we have is Philip.
Hi, my name is Phil Santa. I live in Belleville. And I grew up in rural Wisconsin. Um, I've done a bunch of different things as in my career over the years. Probably the longest I was in corporate IT. But during the pandemic, I started getting involved in environmental conservation and helped found a small organization that's building a nature preserve um, north of New Glarus. And one of the things so I met Corrine a year ago, and I was immediately struck by many of the things that the people that all of my peers here have been talking about. Just how energetic and intelligent and curious Corrine is, and some of my I immediately started talking to my friends. I said, "This is who I'm backing. I want to try to help her. You should get to know her." And I did hear from folks that said, well, it looks like she's kind of very focused on childcare and things like that, um, which, first of all, is very important. But I can speak to the quick study that she has been in the area of environmental policy, conservation, um, how state funding, state legislation, and programs affect things like our water quality, the health of our soil, cleanliness of our air, and she has really come up to speed with that. And one of the things that is most frustrating to me about Howard Markline is his total failure to back the Knowles Nelson stewardship program. And, not even to be honest about it, I mean, I was engaged with his office numerous times asking what his position was and, never got a straight answer. And then it was clear that he just wanted it to die along with the rest of the Republican Party. And so I feel one of the reasons I'm supporting Corrine is because I know that she understands the value of public land and, quality environmental spaces for us to have. The only other thing I want to say is, the business about her being new to, not having been in a elected seat before, to me, that's a huge plus. I mean, I am very tired of people in the Democratic Party that seem to be focused on following public opinion instead of leading and educating voters and driving things. And again, that's one of the things I saw in Corrine from like within 1 minute of talking to her. It was helping me understand things that I didn't know anything about and possibilities that I had never even considered. And so aside from her background, her policies, her knowledge, to me that is the single most important reason that I am happy to support her is because I think that she is going to take her values and her energy and her intelligence and engage with people and rebuild some of the connections between voters and the government. And that is the most important thing we need right now.
Thank you. Great points, Phil. Next, we will have Jillian, and then after that, Macy, followed by Matthew, Goff, Sarah, and Lacey. Here's Jillian.
Sorry, I'm doing it on my phone. Trying to figure out the Zoom thing again. I'm Jalen. I have known Corrine for the last probably 6 years now. Corrine has helped me. She took me under her wing when I started my family childcare center. She talked me through how to get everything going and stuff. And the one thing that I've taken from my relationship with Corrine is the fact that she teaches the people that she is around. She takes us under her wing and says, it's not a big deal. Like, we'll figure this out together. And if she doesn't know the answer to something, she is willing to talk to whoever it takes to answer the question I have. And then the big thing like I said, like the advocating part, she has taught me how to advocate for myself, how to hold people accountable. And I know that she has my support with the fact that I can hold her accountable, and I know that she's gonna come back to me and say, dang it, you were right, or here's the information you need to do what you need to do. So yes, and with the childcare stuff, I am the childcare president of Greene County Childcare Network, and she has helped us figure out things that we need to do with our Greene County. She's helped us figure out how to get grants from the brewing company so that we can offer trainings to our providers in town, and for them to be able to leave to go to conferences and stuff. So like, I know her worth ethic is there, and I want somebody in the office that's going to have the work ethic to even just go out and have meetings with the people in her community that she's representing.
Thanks, Jillian.
Yeah.
Macy? Macy is the owner and director of a.
There we go. Yes, sorry. I am also in the car, so I'm struggling here. I own a small business, and that's how I met Corrine. And I didn't hear anybody saying anything about her experience in working with small business owners, because we employ the majority of employees in this state. I've worked with her. We've been to DC together, met with Mark Pocan. I know she talked about Johnson, and she is a great organizer. But I also agree, if she doesn't know it, she finds the information, she supports people, she listens, she does all of those great things that would make her a great legislator. She sees the detail in bills that you might miss, and she sees that. So she's very detailed and very organized and very, very information seeking. I swear she never sleeps. That woman, if I ask her for anything, she is finding that information and sharing it with me, because I'm a big advocate too. I just spent the weekend with a bunch of young moms down in Raleigh, North Carolina, encouraging them that they have power. And I agree. It is time. I think people are feeling that across the state. It is time for us as communities to elect people that we know are vested in our community. And I'm not sure I see that in your other candidate. And I should clarify, though, I don't live in 17. I'm up in DeForest, Windsor. So I'm not one of her, or won't be one of her constituents, but I know that we need more like her in this state. And I know she'll work awesomely with Sarah Kieski is my state senator. I know she will work well with them, and it will be much advantageous for 17, which is a huge district compared to ours. It will be much advantageous for us to do that. Actually, this weekend, we're a friend of mine and of Corrine's are talking about going to Mount Horeb and walking around, and she lives in some prairie. So that's how much we believe in her and all the wonderful things she's already done, and we know she can do.
Thanks. And to your point, Macy, really remembering that this is the seat to flip the state. So people all across the state do have a stake in this. So even if you don't live in the district, but you know me and want to support me, I did put the phone bank in the chat. Anybody can access that from anywhere and call people. And, you know, being able to volunteer and say, I know her and can speak for her confidently is all the difference in the world when you're calling people and connecting with them. But yeah, remember this seat, because we flipped Kieski's seat last time, now we're down to 2 more that are left. So it's very important that we get this seat to be flipped and that I win the primary on August 11th so that I can move on November 4th.
Because you do the boots. She doesn't do the boots you're running against. So keep it up. And like I said, I'm going to try to hit the ground on Saturday for you, dear.
I think I'm next. Hi, everyone. I'm Matthew, and I was born a long time ago. You can tell by my gray hair, but about 7, 8 years after I was born, well, I'll back up. Right as I was being born, there was a famous politician that said, "We will go to the moon," because not that it's easy, because we want to do the hard things. And growing up, I was fascinated and watched every black and white television broadcast I could watch that NASA did. Today, I flew from the East Coast, Washington, D.C. to San Diego. Was supposed to take about 4 hours and 45 minutes. Somehow, miraculously, the pilots shortened that flight by 30 minutes. We got in early. We got to the gate early, and everything was great. What I wear this button everywhere I go. I don't know if you can see it. Might be backwards, but it says childcare is a public good. I sat by a pediatrician today on the plane. When I sat down, she looked at my button. She said, "This country doesn't understand. They just don't understand." We were at 35,000 feet having that conversation. Do you know how much money and effort it took to get us at 35,000 feet to talk about childcare as a public good? And yet we won't even begin to think about spending the money for the most precious time in our human development. And Corrine is the person that can make that happen for Wisconsin. And when we see it happen, Corrine and I met in DC, and we're involved in childcare advocacy. We see things like this happen in Vermont. We see them happen in Michigan. We see them happen in Missouri. We see them happen in Mexico. We see them happen in counties like San Mateo County, the first ever TRISHARE program in California. And that happens because you all decide that you want to make childcare a public good, and you want to make people like Corrine fly and make it happen in Wisconsin. So I'm very excited to support Corrine and the work that she's done and the work that she's going to do.
Thank you, Matthew. Golf?
Hi there. I guess what it boils down to is we have to make a choice between 3 candidates. And the fact that the legislators have chosen one of them and then funded their campaign on its face looks like a high rank to get to for us, for Corrine. But the reality is that the money that they put in her campaign coffers is being used to buy work that Corrine is doing on her own. In other words, people are being paid to do doors. And boy, that's just really ineffective. You know, I've been in a couple of campaigns, and you can tell the people who are just going through the motions. I mean, they just hang the thing on the door and walk away, as opposed to trying to figure out where on the house you should put it so that when the people come home, they pick it up and look at it, right? There's a big difference between just hanging it on the door and finding that specific location. But so what should be a real disadvantage for this campaign, I think we can turn it into an advantage. The complication, of course, is there aren't very many days to do this, except that Green's been out doing it regularly, and that I think that's going to pay significant benefits. One of the oddities of our position here, as opposed to the candidates, is we get to regularly say negative stuff to our friends, and she shouldn't do that, right? She should always be positive, talking about her own campaign, not wading in and cracking up people beside the head. That's our job, is to crack them up beside the head. And one of the ads that comes across is that Jenna is going to investigate the corruption in Madison. And I don't understand that. She's in Madison. She's talking about investigating corruption right where she is. And if it is there the way she thinks it is, then what the hell has she been saying for the last 2 years? I haven't heard boo out of her on that subject. So that's just one of those subjects that's kind of made up, you know, as to make this thing a campaign. So the one shorthand that I hear from folks who are on our team is, if you're going to compete with Markline, you got to show up. I hear that regularly. You can't just do it from the distance, and so I think that's maybe Corrine's single biggest, maybe not effort, but her single biggest resource is that she shows up every day, and you can say that to your friends. She shows up. Now, then the next obvious question is, shows up to do what? Well, I've heard a couple of conversations that she's been engaged in which she's talked about what it's like to lobby for something, to see something through. And that is what the business of legislation is all about. And it's another one of those oddities. Over here, there's a person who's in the legislature who I don't ever see do anything other than sign legislation after it's already passed. And over here, I've got this person who has had her feet on the ground and done all this specific work with daycare, lobbying for that and making the effort. So having just put a couple of minutes into this, the object here is to get down to like 2 sentences, right? Because you don't have much time if you're talking at the door or you're talking to one of your friends. So A, she shows up to do the work. B, she's got all this experience, both being on the ground level with daycare, but also lobbying for it and trying to make sure that what needs to be done gets done. So, and then the third part obviously is the fact that daycare is such a central issue for how our economy runs. A central issue. Look at what Mondami's doing in New York. You know, he's going to provide it on that scale. And I think the number in New York is $6 billion to provide daycare for everybody. And what's the reward? They do the calculation. There's $25 billion you get back in terms of revenue. Who the hell knew that? But that's really what it's all about, you know. Oh, Smarty over here raises her hand that she knew that. She shows up, that she knows how to lobby for what has to be done, which is the basic job of a legislature, and that the issues that she brings are central to our economy here in Wisconsin. Not peripheral, not occasional, central. Now I got to quit going write that down and make sure I get it remembered.
Thanks, Goff. Yeah, you are absolutely correct. The investment is there. The frustrating thing, and one of the reasons why Corrine is running, is that We have told the legislative body over and over and over. Wisconsin loses about 2 billion a year due to the lack of childcare that we already have now. Now it's four. Korean's saying it's four. Due to the lack of childcare, because it does affect the workforce. It affects so many things. So yeah, Goff, you're absolutely right. The problem is we've been telling this legislation that because we've known that Nobel Prize economists, what is his name, Corrine? Uh, why can't I think of it?
Heckman. Heckman.
Heckman. He's been sounding the alarm on investing in childcare for the economy for years. So if you go to his website, it talks about that investment, explains it because a lot of people, need to see like they need to have it explained, which is fine. Go to his website. But yeah, um, absolutely correct, Goff. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and other countries have used that research to do their own universal childcare system. Canada just went to $10 a day. And shocker of all shockers, the biggest issue was they didn't have enough teachers because they didn't expect so many people to want to utilize it. Because the assumption is that parents want to stay home all the time, and that if they can't, then grandparents want to be full-time caregivers. And I can tell you, knocking doors, that's not what I'm hearing. Yes, they want to help. Yes, they want to be backup, but they do not have the time or energy or the ability to work 50 hours a week taking care of their grandkids, nor should we expect them to without, compensation or any sort of help for that matter.
Yes.
And there aren't any questions in the chat at all, so we'll continue on.
Yes. Sarah?
Yes. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. My name is Sarah Hendrickson. I have known Corrine for more than 25 years. I am a special education teacher in a rural school here in Wisconsin in District 17. But Corrine and I actually went to college together forever ago. Sort of knew each other then a little bit and ended up marrying brothers. So we are now related, which is a perk for me. But I think that I kind of was giggling every time everyone was talking about her energy level and how much energy she brings to the campaign, but not only campaign, but everyday life, right? Like her energy for learning, her energy for talking to people, for having conversations, whether they're positive or negative or agreement or disagreement, her energy for all of that is boundless. We like to joke she actually did dress up as the Energizer Bunny for Halloween one time. We like to joke that she just never took it off. She's just that bundle of energy all the time. And she
What did
just
you say
never
about
stopped.
the Energizer Bunny?
She dressed as the Energizer Bunny for Halloween and never took off the costume. She's still wearing it.
How intimidating. Thank you.
But I know that Corrine, she does sometimes get seen as sort of a one-trick pony. She's the child care girl. She wants free childcare for all, and that's kind of all she does. And we know that that is completely not true. As a public school teacher, I also have come to her many, many times with questions about regulations, rules, what is the laws on this? What is the process on this? Parents have such a difficult time navigating the processes of education, and especially special education. They don't know what their rights are. They don't know what they can push for, what they can't push for. They don't know how to go about getting help for their kids. And she also understands the funding formulas and where that is and isn't conducive to kids getting the help that they need. Mostly it isn't. And we also know that Mark Klein is in charge of those purse strings. But Corrine, first and foremost, is a teacher. Learning is her life. She doesn't only know about childcare. I think someone else mentioned it too, that she, in every person, in every conversation that she ever has, she learns something new. And if she doesn't learn something new or she doesn't understand it, she will go out and she will learn it. That is what she loves to do. That is what she wants to do. And she wants to do that for us because she wants to understand what the issues are. She wants to understand what the experts say about that. What is best for not just the state of Wisconsin, but locally and in each community. She is a lifelong learner and she's going to put that to work for all of us. I don't know what more I can say about her, but she is a workhorse and she really just understands the way government works. She has been there, she has done that, she has worked through the state level legislature, she has worked through the federal legislatures. She really enjoys when people push back. She really enjoys having those conversations, not only to learn something new, but to educate people as well. So she's not afraid of that. She's not afraid to get her hands dirty and work. She is not afraid to argue with you, and she's not afraid to learn that she was wrong and she's going to learn something new. I just think that that's really what we need right now is somebody who's willing to listen, not somebody who's just going to do what the party says to do or do what her someone has to grease her wheels or wants her to do something. She's not going to do that. The one thing that I have always seen her do and what she is best at is pushing back. And so she's going to do that, and she's going to do what is right for us and for the people of this district. Her integrity is her greatest asset. She's not going to just do something because someone says she should. She's going to go through all of the hoops. She's going to learn all of the things, and she's going to do exactly what is best for us. I've seen that personally and professionally time after time. So if you are so inclined to be able to help financially with her campaign, please do. I have been around knocking doors with her. I have more than several occasions, someone opens the door, looks at my shirt and says, "Oh, you're fine. I'm already voting. It's fine. I already got you." So we know the support is out there, but we really need the word to be spread even farther. So make sure you're talking to people, telling them about Corrine. Make sure you go vote. Early voting is open. Election day is next Tuesday, so let's do it.
Wonderful, Sarah. That was so like, yep, that was Corrine. So thank you, because yes, you I don't know how to, but you captured it with that is absolutely Corrine. I don't know how many times, I've gotten emails at like 2 or 3 in the morning and she's reading a book like and found something and it's like, you should go to bed, Corrine. So yes, Sarah, you captured her wonderfully with your words. Thank you for that. Lacey?
All right, we saved the best for last. No, just kidding. We'll let you talk again, Corrine. My name is Lacey Bainbridge. I'm a former elected trustee for the Village of New Glarus, and a current village committee member. And so much of what I want everyone to know about Corrine has been shared by, my peers already. So that is wonderful. But the one thing I did want to mention is that Corrine is the wife of a volunteer fire department chief. And our husbands have served the community as volunteer firefighters together for many, many, many years. I'm gonna like decades. And through our years supporting our husbands, I have seen her wash dishes and pick up trash at fundraisers. We have folded and stickered mailers. So when she is saying that she supports and understands local and rural first responders, she's been doing this work for years. Like these aren't empty promises. She has already seen this and she's doing the work and knows what needs to be done to make sure that our local and rural first responders have what they need to continue working in our communities. One of the things that I do share with folks when I'm explaining why I support Corrine is that she's the one person that I know will pick up the phone if I call. If someone offered me $1,000,000, but I had to call someone and I had to pick up, and I have answered this question before, it's Corrine, hands down, every time. I would pick Corrine 1,000,000 times over because she will pick up the phone because it's important. And that speaks volumes about her as it's not just me she would do that for. She would do that for all of us. And that's why she needs to be in this seat. We need this change to happen. So I definitely support Corrine and I ask for everyone watching, please, please, it's time for change. And Corrine is the change.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah. Again, I mean, yes, there's so many things too that like that popped through my head about like Corrine has two boys. They're 17 and 19. One is at UW-Madison. He plays in the marching band. She was a scout leader for her youngest and well and both of them, and but her youngest is going for his Eagle Scout right now. And she supports
Oh.
him helping with the trap team for her like she's doing whatever she can to donate her time at the school for her children as well. So it's yes. Um, let's see, who do we
Yep, everybody's gone. So there aren't any questions in the YouTube live or on the Facebook, but if anybody on here has any questions, I'm happy to help happy to answer them. And Phil is gracious enough to be working with my son on his Eagle Scout project. Hopefully it gets done. Part of being a parent is also allowing your child to have to do the work and like give him guidelines and boundaries, but not do it for him. And so many times as a childcare provider, we've seen that, right? That, parents do things that they're for people. And that's, I try to also think about as a senator, I'm not going to do things for people. I'm going to help give them guidance. I'm going to help them find the answers, but I'm not going to do it for people. But I will definitely work alongside you and with you to do that.
I have a question.
Sure.
This is Mara. And have you investigated in getting interviewed by the independent news outlets like Brian Tyler Cohen, the Midas Touch? They have millions of viewers, and they do interview. They do concentrate on community problems and issues. And I don't know, have you tried anything like that for marketing to get your name out? Because that is that's the hardest part. It's to get known. It's to get out there. And without money, it's very difficult.
Yep.
Although you've
So
done an incredible job. I can't believe it. All the signs I see and people actually know who you are. Um, but I think everybody's right. We need to do better. And I will be talking to people as I play. You know, vote, vote, vote. Don't complain. Vote. Okay, that's my question.
yeah, so I actually, in the world of childcare, I have been interviewed by Time Magazine. Brooke made the front page above the fold on the Washington Post on her bus when we went and took
Woohoo!
over, when we went to the Capitol. And so I've been interviewed and been in national articles and things. And I've tried reaching out to some of these podcasts, but the problem is because we have a primary, they're being really weird about it. I
Ah,
did poke out though. So the Guardian had an article about Francesca Hong and Abby Spanberger and now I'm going to forget her name, the two governors that ran on childcare, even though they were moderates. And then Fran is running on childcare here in Wisconsin. And I reached out to the editor with Matthew's help, and he's or the journalist, and he's going to talk to the editor about potentially running a story here on this. So I am feeling around and poking, but sometimes it's who you know and who you get
yeah.
connected to that way.
Oh,
But I have like Catherine Rampel, who is now an MS Now. She interviewed me multiple times with the Washington Post, and I've emailed her a couple times. So I'm hoping that, it'd be great if I could get on there before the primary, but after the primary for sure, I think there might be a little bit more interest. There's just so much, and that people have said this too, like people, it's really weird. They will give money to an out-of-state US Senate candidate or an out-of-state House candidate before they will give to their local state or a Senate or assembly. And it's just so weird. And I don't know if it's because Wisconsin has been gerrymandered for so long, we didn't think that it would matter to donate to the local, or if people just don't understand the difference between the federal government and the state government and the importance of those things. So as I'm knocking doors and talking to people, I'm trying to explain that as well and really helping people understand the process. Because back to what Sarah had said, I'm, a teacher at heart and I love to educate and I love to be educated and to learn. I'm naturally curious. I will not lie. I sometimes judge, but I catch myself and then I, lead with that curiosity because I'm not a saint as much as everybody on here is making it sound like that. I definitely a work in progress, as we all are, but that's part of it too, is giving yourself grace and, understanding that, oops, I screwed up, admit it and move on instead of try to bury it. And so often right now I see in our politicians, that's what they do. They will not admit they made a mistake, and they will double down and continue that. So yeah, kind of, I'm curious if maybe after these 4 states have their primaries today, if maybe we might get something here before next Tuesday. But yeah, thank you for that question.
Which, Corrine, when you win, what committees do you want to be on?
So I've really thought hard about this. Education, for sure, because I would be the only state senator with an education degree. I have a bachelor's and a master's that I finished in December. And I'm thinking farm. And the reason I'm thinking farm is this is a farm heavy part of the state. Mark Line was on that committee. Jenna is currently on that committee in the assembly. But I've also been working with the hemp farmers. And I've been good friends with Phil Scott for 6 years with Main Street Alliance. And we've been advocating to try and legalize CBD and marijuana in our state, but make sure that the actual small business owners and farmers from within our state are the ones who get the benefit from it. And I was up at the Capitol with him multiple times this last spring, getting him meetings with some of the Democrats that he couldn't get into the offices with, but I had relationships with from childcare. And I learned a lot about what is going on. And then the continuing resolution from last year and how our entire state could be, like November 12th, it could be over. And so all of these small business owners and farmers did, like, some of them planted hoping that something comes through, but our state gavelled out in February, and there's nothing that can happen at the state level. So they're banking on the federal level doing that. And making sure that we have somebody that has not just the big ag background and the dairy and the corn and soy and the beef industry, but also understands the small farmers and the people who grow the food that we eat locally here. Also, one of the biggest things I've run across is people want to start their own small farms and want to raise beef for their own consumption and pork, but they can't find a butcher shop that will have like space. So we always buy our meat from a farmer, and he couldn't get in for 2 extra months. So our beef was 200 pounds larger than expected, and he had to feed it that much longer. So it cost us more than we were expecting. So we really need to look at the infrastructure of our small communities, and we need to expand how we go about. Meat Smith is a great example. They are doing different ways where they come out to the farm and then they take it back. And so we need to look at different ways of doing things and get more people able to open small businesses in their communities. And to tie that into what Lacey was saying, over the last 20 plus years that my husband's have been on the department, we've watched the small businesses close in our small communities. We've watched the trades, especially after the recession, the small carpenter businesses, the small plumbers and electricians and et cetera, and they never have come back. And so that's part of our housing crisis, is we don't have small businesses that will do the small homes and the remodels and things like that. And that's why these big, massive houses are being built, because they're more profitable and they're easier to schedule and they're easier to just go boom, boom, boom. And so talking to the people in the trades, they've all said, we do apprentices. We love to train our young employees. They're fantastic, but they turn 26, and if they don't get married, so they have health insurance, they leave. So why are all our small business owners feeding the big corporations and training them up so the big corporations can do healthcare? So I am also looking at big picture. We need paid family medical leave. We need health insurance. We need things that sustain our small businesses and our small communities, so that then we have people available in town to call to respond to fire and EMS. So it all kind of goes together in that way. So yeah, did I answer your question?
I believe so.
All right. I went off on a little tangent, but I think I brought it back
I know.
around.
It's like you answered it and then some. I appreciate it.
Excellent. Goff?
Can we talk about the next 7 days?
Yes, absolutely. So what do you need?
I still have some friends up in the Capitol from the good old days, and one of them is very active in Democratic politics. And I asked him how he looked at this race, and he says Jenna. And I said, she's not showing up. And he said, well, that isn't their plan. Their plan is to spend the money doing essentially messaging. Now, if you go back a dozen years or so, when the first of our Wisdom's execs came in, who wasn't from the old school, she was working on a Supreme Court race where we had an 8-point lead. Dems had an 8-point lead on that thing. The Republicans went out and spent $1 million buying phone numbers so that they could message everybody. It had never been done before. So it had a real significant impact. And in fact, that Republican justice overcame that 8-point lead and got on the Supreme Court. The difficulty these days is that everybody is messaging. I don't know, but I spend more time deleting messaging than I do. So I don't see that that is the that's the what do I want to say, that's the shorthand is that's not the answer here. I think the answer is getting out and being in touch with people, whether you're making a phone call to them, if you're going to do doors, fine. Get your contact list here and go through it. And the key to talking to people, who was it who said, was it Matthew who said, oh no, it was you, Morrow, who said you didn't do doors?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I live in the middle of nowhere anyway.
Right. Well, the issue is whether they're answering the door or answering the phone, the issue is the same.
I do the phones.
And what it is, no, people don't like to be told what to do. Surprise. So if you, the first half a dozen times or so that you do it, you're going to feel awkward doing it, but you'll kind of get a feel for what you do. But basically, I think what you have to do is say, I'm wondering what this is me, and your panel may be different. I'm wondering what you're thinking about the race in the 17th, and see if they say what they say. I mean, right off the bat, you'll know a lot by getting them to tell you what they're doing. Now, most of them are going to find they haven't given any thought. I mean, by far and away, we just had our gubernatorial race in our governor prospect was out at the Bailey's, and so you get to go around and call people and see if they'll come. And so, but you start this thing, for me anyway, I always start by saying, what do you think? You know, have you given any thought to this? Where are you? What? And if they don't want to talk about it, you'll know right away. And then you say, thanks very much. Really appreciate your time. Goodbye. Right. If they do want to talk about it, then you gotta have your points as to why you think Corrine is your choice. And you try and keep it positive. Be ready for something that might be negative. Now, there are 12 of us here. If each of us could get one more person to make calls, that's 24. This is harder than it seems. You know, you say, well, we'll just keep making these phone calls. But the more you can do, even if it's just one, that's one that wasn't done before. So ask them get your contact sheet out of your phone, start looking at it and see people that are around you that you feel comfortable talking to. Ask them what their thoughts about the 17th, and then be ready to step in and say this. You don't say, I think you ought to do thus and so and vote for Corrine. You say, this is how I feel about it. And now you're just giving your opinion without forcing yourself on them. Okay, bye.
Nope. So Steve was just leaving. So yes, thank you, Goff, for that. So the next 7 days, the plan is to try and hit about 5,000 doors. Brooke and I hit around 250 today, and I had a couple other people out. So if you have never door knocked or canvassed before, I've had multiple people come with me, and we start as a group and we go together, and you watch me for a little bit, and then you try it and I watch and support, but we've learned you have to say, I'm learning. And that's why she's standing right here, because otherwise it gets a little awkward. Like, why are you speaking for the candidate? And so, we go together and we do it that way. And then as you're more confident, you go off on your own. And I've done this multiple times. I have about 26 people knocking doors across the district, but we definitely, like Goff was saying, that's we have to fill in the gaps that the TV and the radio and that, because it's grassroots all the way for this. But I also believe firmly that that's what people want, because as I'm knocking doors, they're saying to me, oh my gosh, you showed up. I'm going to vote for you just because of that. And oh, we agree on these things. I'm definitely voting for you. And now I'm going to tell my friends. And now I'm going to tell my family. So if we can even just get people to, let 5 other people know on election day that they need to go, make sure that they know to vote. Early in person has started. Most communities, you can do it through Friday from 8 to 4 if they have normal office hours. If not, check with your clerk. And sometimes you make an appointment with them and you meet them somewhere and you do the absentee ballot that way, the in-person absentee. Saturday, Sunday, I don't know that we have any in our district that do it, but there's potential. Monday, there is no voting. That's their day to prep. Tuesday, the polls open at 7 a.m. and go till 8 p.m. And if you're in line before 8 o'clock and the line is still going, stay in line because you have the right to vote. If you're in line before 8 o'clock, you have the right to vote. And so making sure that we're getting out on doors as much as possible, even if it's in your own neighborhood, and just talk to a few people. And like Goff said, get on the phone and talk to people that you know that live in Grant, Crawford, Iowa, Lafayette, Greene counties, and into Dane County, town of Springdale, town of Vermont, Brooklyn, Mount Horeb, Oregon, because that's where the people live. And so then you can let them know. If you need yard signs, let us know. We have people in all different communities that are delivering those. If you're not comfortable knocking and talking, to Goff's point, it's not as effective, but if you're more comfortable just being a delivery person and leaving it, that's fine with me, because it's 40 cents for me to mail every one of those things. So you can definitely just leave them at the doors. I can get you maps so that you know where to stop. And same thing when you're canvassing, I can give you lists of people that are more friendly so that you are more likely to talk to people that are going to be receptive to you. If you're Brooke, you enjoy finding signs that are for Trump and Van Orden and Dom Tiffany, and you still go to the door and convince them to vote for me, which I wish I had seen, because that had to be amazing. But just, really letting people know why you're excited about me helps them have that conversation, helps them think about it in that way, because you are a trusted messenger that they know and care about. That goes so much further than, a TV ad, a radio ad, or somebody who doesn't care about me or know about me going door to door. We also have a phone banking online anytime. I get you the link and you can go at your leisure. So if you have a 10-minute break at lunch and you want to make a couple calls, you can do that. I just tell people between 9 a.m. and 8 p.m., please don't go outside of those hours for knocking or phone banking, because you're likely to make me lose a vote instead of earn the vote. But really, that's what we're looking for, is earning the votes, earning the seat, because I want to do the work for you and with you, and, lead from behind and help you get what you need for the community that you believe in and the topics you believe in and that you care about, making sure that has that opportunity in the committee hearings and to get it passed into law so that we can all do better, because we deserve better than what we've been getting. And it doesn't have to be this way. And I think that's one of the biggest things, is people feel like it has to be this way, that there aren't other solutions, and they don't think outside the box. So yeah, so that's the next 7 days. Thank you, Goff, for that. And in the chat on the YouTube channel, I have put all of those links for ways for you to help volunteer and support. And, if you prefer to, donate money, that works too. The Act Blue link is in there as well. Anything else?
I'm going to go into town, and maybe it's not knocking on doors, but I'm going to go into the businesses, and I'm going to take Goff's advice. I like that approach, not coming in, hey man, vote for you. I'm going to be more subtle and work around that. A great idea, Goff. And there's a lot of businesses in town that will vote Democratic, but they're probably don't, maybe they're going to vote for what's her name. And I think I might be able to help in that way. And I'll be there either tomorrow or Thursday.
A good lead in too is just saying, like, I'm here to get the vote out, and making sure that people know that a primary is Tuesday and to vote. And then I lead into, like, I am volunteering, and I use the word volunteer because I want them to know I'm not
Yeah.
paid to do this because I believe in her. So, and I am volunteering for Corrine, who is running for state senate. And if I have the opportunity, I will touch on her main priorities. But a lot of times when I knock doors, that's where I start is wanting to let you know there's a primary. Now I see next Tuesday.
Mhm.
That you vote.
Ow. Well, that sounds great. I love all this advice, and I feel like I can do something. I have donated to Act
You
Blue.
well, and you've been getting out the word and you've been connecting to people. I've got a lot of musicians also supporting me because at the end of the day, most musicians learned how to play their instruments in schools, and sadly, music and the arts are the first thing that they
Oh
cut.
God, I
And it needs
know.
to stop because that's what makes life worth living.
Yeah.
And as adults, we love to go and listen to bands and we love to go watch art or go see art or whatever. And it won't exist if we don't instill that value and the appreciation and the ability in all of our kids.
Well, good. Good. Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you,
thank you.
everybody.
And thank you everybody for all your time tonight. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go and spend some time with my family and eat some dinner and get my ego in check after all of these wonderful things that everybody has said about me.
Oh, I think you're safe with your ego. I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah,
Your
awesome.
boys are always good at getting your ego in check.
Oh yeah, those boys, it's all right. Somebody's got to keep me on earth. I can't be floating away.
Yeah. Well,
They
good.
hold me accountable. How's that sound?
Mhm. Yep.
So yeah. So thank you again, everybody who tuned in. I will put this onto my actual Corrine for 17 YouTube channel once I download it and re-upload it because that was a mess. But hey, thank you for everyone who popped on. I did see there were people on and off this whole time. And thank you all for showing up and doing everything that you've been doing throughout this entire year of campaign. And obviously before that to support me. And I hope I've supported you back. So thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.